Okey. Melati kuntum tumbuh melata, sayang merbah di pohon cemara. Assalamualaikum mulanya kata, saya sembah pembuka bicara. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'du. Good morning, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today at the second Global Engagement Program webinar series on how to be a good researcher. This webinar is hosted by the Department of Chemical Engineering, Universitas Islam Indonesia, UII, in collaboration with the Department of Chemical and Process Engineering, JKKP, University Kebangsaan Malaysia. Okay, before we get started, I would like to introduce myself. I am Dr. Abdullah Amru Indra Lutfi from the Department of Chemical and Process Engineering, UKM, and I will be the MC for today's webinar. I am glad to welcome the head of the Department of Chemical Engineering, UII, Dr. Suharno Rusdi. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Suharno.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Suharno Rusdi. Now, please welcome the chairperson of the Department of Chemical and Process Engineering, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, Associate Professor Dr. Masli Irwan Rosli. Okay, but I think he is not attending today. Also, welcome to our keynote speakers today, Professor Insinyur Dr. Siti Kartum Kamarudin from Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia and Dr. Sholeh Ma'mun from Universitas Islam Indonesia. Our discussion today will be moderated by Dr. Ang Wei Lun from the Department of Chemical and Process Engineering, UKM. We will start our webinar today with the opening ceremony. First, let us begin by reciting Bismillah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Next, we will be listening to the recital of Al-Quran by Mr. Fahrul Umam from Universitas Islam Indonesia. Mr. Fahrul Umam, over to you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya ma'syaral jinni wal insi alam ya'tikum rusulun minkum alam ya'tikum rusulun minkum yaqussuna alaikum ayati yaqussuna alaikum ayati wa yunzirunakum liqa'a yawmikum hadza qalu syahidna ala وغرتهم الحياة الدنيا وغرتهم الحياة الدنيا وشهدوا على أنفسهم على أنفسهم أنهم كانوا كافرين. ذلك أن لم يكن ربك مهلك القرى بظلم وأهلها غافلون. ولكل درجات مما عملوا وما ربك بغافل عما يعملون. Sadaqallahul azim. Aku berlindung kepada Allah dari godaan syaitan yang terkutuk dengan menyebut nama Allah yang Maha Pengasih lagi Maha Penyayang. Wahai golongan jin dan manusia, bukankah sudah datang kepadamu rasul-rasul dari kalanganmu sendiri? Mereka menyampaikan ayat-ayatku kepadamu dan memperingatkanmu tentang pertemuan pada hari ini. Mereka menjawab, ya, kami menjadi saksi atas diri kami sendiri. Tetapi mereka tertipu oleh kehidupan dunia dan mereka telah menjadi saksi atas diri mereka sendiri bahwa mereka adalah orang-orang kafir. Demikianlah para rasul diutus karena Tuhanmu tidak akan membinasakan suatu negeri secara zalim, sedang penduduknya dalam keadaan lengah belum tahu. Dan Tuhanmu Maha Karya penuh rahmat, jika Dia menghendaki Dia akan memusnahkan kamu, dan setelah kamu akan diganti dengan yang Dia kehendaki, sebagaimana Dia menjadikan kamu dari keturunan golongan lain. Maha benar Allah dalam segala firman-Nya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Mr. Farul Uman. Before moving on to the next session, I would like to invite all of you to join a photo session, which will be held after the opening remarks. To prepare for the photo session, the virtual background of this webinar has been sent to the email that is used for registration. Please download it and make sure the background is ready when the photo session begins. Next, we will listen to an opening remark from the head of the Department of Chemical Engineering, Faculty of Industrial Technology, UII, Dr. Suharno Rusdi. Dr. Suharno, the session is yours.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wa bihi nasta'inu ala umuri dunya waddin. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la syarika lah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala hadha nabil karim wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa tabi'in ajma'in. Firstly, our grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also salawah and salam delivered to Muhammad Rasulullah, the last prophet who guided us to the right way. And also my excellency to Professor Masli, Vice President, Head of Department Mechanical Engineering UKM, and also the Excellency Professor Siti Khartoum, as on behalf Chemical Engineering Department, the Islamic University of Indonesia, I would like to say thanks and also grateful. This webinar, second webinar, hopefully will run properly. And I hope our collaboration between Chemical Engineering, Islamic University and UKM also will move as per our expect. Yeah. And also to all participants in this webinar, we would like to say thanks, and also I hope you can join this webinar up to completion. And also for our colleagues, Dr. Soleh Ma'mun and Ibu Dr. Iva, I would like to say thanks. You already work hard to organize this webinar. We hope that our international class will move properly and getting better and better in the future. Actually, this is first year's international class, so we still explore and learn how to develop in the better way. We now have around 11 students international in our department, and also I hope next year's the student join this program will getting bigger, and we hope this class will be our premium program for Department of Chemical Engineering. All right, I hope all participants will join this program also up to finish. Then let's this webinar we open by say Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. All right, thank you very much for everybody here. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for the opening remarks, Dr. Suharno Rusdi. Moving along, we will listen to another opening remark from the chairperson of the Department of Chemical and Process Engineering UKM. Please welcome Associate Professor Dr. Masli Irwan Rosli.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and good morning. Thank you to the chairman of this program and to our partner in Universitas Islam Indonesia UII, Dr. Suharno Rusdi, the head of Chemical Engineering Departments, and to our keynote speakers today, Mr. Soleh Ma'mun from Departments of Chemical Engineering UII, and to Professor Engineer Dr. Siti Khartoum Kamaruddin, the Director of Fuel Cell Institute, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, UKM. First and foremost, on behalf of UKM, I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to our Indonesian partner UII for organizing this special event, which represent another successful collaboration activities between UII and UKM. This morning, we are honored to have speakers from UII and UKM, and our speaker from UKM, Professor Siti Khartoum, which I believe she is very excited today to share UKM's experience on how to be a good researcher. I strongly confident that this webinar will benefit both parties and will be follow up with future collaboration activities, both in research and also in teaching and learning. With that, I thank all members of the committees and to all participants. I hope you enjoy this event. Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Thank you so much. Now, I would like to invite everyone to have a photography session. Dear all participants, please turn on your camera and Pak Aziz will be taking the photos. Please
Okay,
welcome
Doctor.
Pak Aziz.
Maybe for all participants, please open your camera and I will take your photo maybe for 1 minute.
So please turn on your camera. Again, I would like to call upon all participants to turn on your camera so that we can have a photography session together.
Okay, finished, Doctor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Aziz, for taking the photos. Okay, now without further ado, I would like to call upon Dr. Ang Wei Lun to moderate the webinar session today. Dr. Ang, over to you.
Thanks, Amru. So is
Welcome.
my voice clear?
Yes, I can hear your voice clearly.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good morning to all the participants. My name is Wei Lun. I'm a lecturer from the Department of Chemical and Process Engineering, University Kebangsaan, Malaysia. In today's webinar, we have two speakers, Prof. Siti Kartom from University Kebangsaan, Malaysia, and Dr. Sholeh from Universitas Islam Indonesia. Both of the speakers will deliver a talk related to how to be a good researcher. Our first speaker, Prof. Engineer Dr. Siti Kartom Kamarudin, is the Professor of Chemical Engineering at Department of Chemical and Process Engineering, Faculty of Engineering and Built Environment, University Kebangsaan, Malaysia since 2011. She is now the Director of Fuel Cell Institute of University Kebangsaan, Malaysia. She is a world expert in low carbon energy related to direct liquid fuel cell and hydrogen technology. She was awarded more than 10 million of research funding from international and local grants. The research has received numerous acknowledgements from local and international authorities such as WIPO Award for the Best Woman Invention from World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, and Best Innovation Award from Taiwan Invention Products Promotion Association, TIPA. Aside from the medals and awards for her research, she also has received numerous publication awards. She has published more than 500 articles, including 250 articles in high-impact journals. She has been cited in international journals, namely, about 8,500 with H index of 47. She was awarded the Malaysia Rising Star in 2015 and 2016. Later in 2016, she was awarded the World Most Influential Minds listed as top 100 world scientists in engineering for having the highest number of papers. In 2017, she was awarded the Malaysia Research Star Award for Outstanding National Research, Renewable Energy, Sustainable and Environment by Thomson Reuters and Ministry of Education, Malaysia. Since 2016 to 2020, she is recognized as the highly cited researchers by Clarivate in recognition of ranking among the top 1% of researchers for the most cited documents. Prof. Siti Kartom also achieved active in promoting the fuel cell and hydrogen technology at national level. Currently, she is working closely with various local industries and agencies in establishing hydrogen economy roadmap in Malaysia. She is the main advisor in several projects that involving in developing policy and course for applications of fuel cell and hydrogen technology in Malaysia. Besides that, under her management, the institute has also succeeded in developing the executive courses that is capable to train skilled human resource towards fuel cell and hydrogen technology. So without further ado, let's welcome Prof. Siti Khartoum to share her thought on how to be a good researcher. Prof, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ang, for the kind introduction. First of all, saya ingin ucapkan terima kasihlah kepada Pak Suharno dan juga Ibu Dr. Ifai kerana dan Pak Arif kerana menjemput saya pada pagi ini serta juga sekretariat daripada UKM. So I'll share my slide. Assalamualaikum and good day to everyone. So I'll try share my slide. Somebody is sharing. Boleh bagi izin saya untuk share?
Ya, Prof sudah boleh share, Prof. Kita sudah boleh berikan izin.
Tapi tak boleh, saya tak boleh nak klik. Dia kata one participant can share at a time. So saya tak dapat share lagi.
Oh, bukan Prof. Maaf. Boleh tekan tombol yang ada arrow tu. Bukan yang arrow yang kecil, tapi yang lebih besar yang hijau tu.
Ya, betul.
Sepatutnya boleh, Prof.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. Right.
Okay, sudah. Alhamdulillah.
Alright. Okay, can everyone see my slide?
Sudah, Prof.
Boleh nampak ya slide saya?
Ya.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and good day to everyone. So today I would like to deliver or maybe I can say that I would like to share some tips or some factors that can influence us to become a successful researcher. So basically, the table content of my talk today is on the introduction. The second topic will be on how to become good in research, quality of a good researcher. And I believe that the combination of good research and a quality of a good researcher then can make you a successful researcher. So that will be my content today for my talk. So basically, as introduction, I would like to present some quotes from the experts on the definition of research. So if we can see that, sorry. So there are some, you can see research must continue to be the centerpiece of intellectual life, and our commitment to research must grow because of problems are growing. So these are some of the quotes. If we can see here, basic research is what I'm doing when I don't know what I'm doing. So these are some of the quotes that give a motivation towards research. Research is formally curiosity. It is poking and prying with a purpose. So if we go to some of the definition of research, then we can get some motivation towards doing research. Okay, by definition, I just want to define the difference between academic and researcher, but I believe most of us today is in the academic line, and at the same time, they are researchers. So what do academic do? Academic normally do a research, and of course, we find fundings for scholarship. And also we do teaching and promotion of learning. Of course, we have to improve our learning method from time to time, and also the content according to the technology, right? Other forms of service, particularly on leadership or administrative responsibilities. So these are the definition of academic. While a researcher, what we do as a researcher, besides as an academic, we collect, organize, analyze, and interpret data. Opinion to explore issues that to be solved and predict trends. So this is the main function of a researcher. So we can see here as an academic, the main thing that we need to do is doing research. So of course, to be an excellent academic, I believe that we need to have a good combination of research and also a personality. Okay, so why we need to do research? Okay, so there's two main target for research. The first one is solution to a problem that has commercial value. So finally, what we do, we patent the product, right? So the other target of research is contribute towards new knowledge. And for academia, basically findings we published. So we can see here there's two targets for research. That is for patent and also publication. So this is the main target why we need to do a research. Okay, so now we always have to do a good research. What always updated through literature review. How to do a good research? We always have to update it through a literature review. So maybe sometimes we have done some literature review 10 years ago. So we have to update frequently, at least 5 years, and 5 years before, and also 5 years in coming years. So this should be done to become a good researcher. Second one is you have to identify research after next. For example, if you're doing research that is in the current application and is already established by industry, try to find something that is still at fundamental level. So that one you can have opportunity to get published and to do a patent, and you can be the expert in future. So that is what you have to find research after next. And also you need to do research in a team. And so this is very important. Don't do research alone. When you do in team, you have more ideas and expertise to share. And of course, you need to have a good mentor to guide you. And most of the time, your mentor's name help you to get published in high impact journal. So basically, if you have some supervisors, some established supervisors, so when you do publication, if your supervisor's name is in the paper, so sometimes, not to say that they will compromise, but the name of your supervisor is the brand, and that will help you to get published faster, right? So what is a good research? So as a good research is replicable, you have reproducible and transparent. So this is definition of good research. So of course, when you have done something, for example, you have students to do your research, or you are doing the research as a student, make sure that when other people do it again on the same research, they get the similar answers. So this is what meant by a good research. So this is very important, especially when you start to doing your experimental work. We always ask you how many times you repeat. So this is very crucial, and you have to make sure at least you repeat 3 to 5 times for every sample, because this is to confirm that your research is correct. Because when we want that, once you run your research, you get the answer, you publish later, somebody else from different university maybe, or some of your junior, when they start to do again your research, they're getting different answers. So this will deny the paper that you have published before. So I think this shouldn't happen, right? Now, how to start a research? So, okay, just now I did mention to you the definition of why you need to do a research. What is a good research? Now, how to start a research? So basically, I would like to advise, because this is what I do from my experience. You have to map your research. Not to say that you read one journal and you start to do the research. No, you have to do a mapping. So put your research in team. A research team expresses the long-term goals of your work, and it can be at several layers. So you can define it as, I'll categorize it as major and also minor. So this is how it looks like. So this is an example of research team, where you can see here from your major, that is my field, because I'm doing fuel cell. For example, I'm taking here liquid fuel cell. So when I start from direct liquid fuel cell, then I know there are several components to form these fuel cells. There are like, for the start, I'll take the types of fuels. So you can see here, you have methanol, ethanol, and other types of fuel. The second layer will be the component of the fuel cell. So basically, like in fuel cell, I got fuel, membrane, catalyst, system design. So from here, you can see that if I pick one of the component, for example, here I show you for catalyst. So for catalyst, there are different types of catalysts. For example, they have platinum, they have non-platinum, there's non-metal catalyst, they have green catalyst, and also they have molecular modeling where they do the development of the catalyst structure. So from here, if I take only one theme, minor theme, for example, the platinum, so I can have different components. For example, the support and also the composite. Right? So when I go down again, for example, the support, it can be in different category. For support, it can be microporous, it can be nanocarbon fiber, it can be nano cage, graphene, and etc. You can see here, when I go down for each of the component, I can do a lot of research. So you can do a lot of publication and you can do a lot of pattern. Finally, if you combine all of this minor theme, then you can develop your major theme. In fact, you can pattern throughout your journey. For example, if you start from microporous, in fact, if you take that one is your major theme, so the minor theme, microporous, you have different type of microporous. So this is how you do mapping, and you have to do each one of it. You just imagine if you can do each one of it as the major and also minor theme. This is only an example. So you can have a lot of systematic research to come to your main product. And I believe maybe after 10 to 15 years, you can establish a very efficient liquid fuel cell, and you can pattern and you can commercialize and you can bring to the community. So this is how to become a good researcher, to do a good research and to expand your research. Because I believe that normally, especially the young researchers, they're having problem when we ask them what is the topic they're going to offer. They cannot give you, I mean, they just will say that, oh, I don't have any research funding, I don't have any student, and I don't know what to do. So this is how you start, and based on the topics, you can try to get funding for the research. Right? So then from the topic that you have done, you have categorized into major and also the minor theme. So these are the things that you have to do for each of the theme. The first one is you have to identify what are the research as already done for that particular theme. What are the literature review already exists? How much research has been done? What types of study that you're planning to do? Is there a unique area that yet to be investigated? And is there a particular question that may be worth replicating? So after you identify your major niche and also your major theme and also your minor theme, for each of the theme, you have to ask these questions, right? And finally, you have to identify what are the interests to the researchers and potentially to others. What are the new issues that you're planning to solve? And also what are the feasible methodology? So once you already identify, you know there are some potential to do research, then you start to go for the next level. And what are the measurable data to support your research, and also whether it's too broad or too narrow. So this is how a systematic way to start to do a research, especially for the young researchers or maybe for the postgraduate students, right? Okay, now, okay, sorry. So these are the steps for research process. So finally, find a topic, refine your topic, find a key sources, take notes on your sources, create your paper or presentation, do additional research as necessary, and cite your sources. So finally, when you already know what to do, you already know what your team. So this is summarized on what you have to do on the research process. So you can start to create your own topic and etc. Right? Next section will be how to become good in research, because I believe when you start your research, you also have to have certain criteria to become good in research, not yet on the researcher, but the research itself. So the first one, researching is a big task, so it can be overwhelming to know where to start. So nothing wrong using a basic internet search to start, but you have to make sure that although it's not accurate, the data that you get is not accurate, but a great way to orient yourself in a topic by given a basic overview. So you start with a basic overview. Dr. Ifa, kalau boleh bantu saya macam mana saya nak hilangkan di atas because saya tak nampak tajuknya tu.
Oh, tapi kami nampak, Prof.
Ya, saya tak nampak tajuk. Alright.
Ada.
Okay.
Kalau di minimize tu mungkin.
Okay, dah okay. Alright. Saya cuba full ke bawah. Okay. So now the second one is learn how to recognize the quality source. So now, when you want to do a good research, of course you have to verify your resources. So you need to use your analytical skills and also critical thinking. You cannot take everything in the internet, or you cannot take everything in the Google. Although people will say everything is Mr. Google, but you have to make sure, because when you start to do a research, it's not a matter of just publishing what you get, but as what I did mention to you earlier, to do a good research, it must be replicable. So you have to make sure that when you get a result, you publish, then other people, when they refer to your paper, they can repeat. So in that case, you have to make sure that the sources that you refer to is not a fake sources. So you have to make sure, ask yourself the following question. Does this source agree with other source I have found? So that is the reason why when we want to start a research, you have to refer to several papers, not only one. Because I did find out that most of the students, what they do, when they want to start a research, they only read maybe like 1 to 5 papers that is very, very much related to their study. So what happens is that they will use these 5 papers throughout their PhD or masters, maybe 3 to 4 years time. So when it comes to the end of the 4th year, when they start to write their thesis, what happens is that the trend already changed. Now people, maybe last time people were comparing apple to apple, but now people start comparing orange to orange. Okay. So what happens is that kenapa? Boleh dengar tak? Kenapa ya?
Sudah, Prof. Maaf.
Okay. So what happens is that after 4 years, when they start to write their thesis, they completed all their objective. They found out that now people start to compare orange and orange, no longer apple to apple. So what happens is that when you want to do a publication, when you want to write a thesis, you have to do a comparison, but you cannot compare orange to apple. You have to compare orange to orange. So this is the reason why the literature review must be updated throughout your studies, not only at the early stage. And maybe most of the students, what they do, they just get a few journals, they follow the methodology, they do the comparison, that's it. So that is not a good research, right? So you have to make sure you have a lot of resources. So for me, I always ask my student, I'll tell them before you start your research, no matter you are doing master's or PhD, make sure you do a literature review. At least you have to refer to minimum maybe 80 to 100 papers. So with that references, you do a good literature review and start to write your review paper. Because I believe that when you start to write a review paper, not only reading your papers, when you start to write, you will try to understand. And actually, besides that, although you're writing a review paper, you can use that as your chapter 2 in the thesis. So this is how I always tell my student that you can start to write your thesis from early stage. From the first semester, you already start to write your thesis. So you have started to write your chapter 2. And of course, you don't stop there. Throughout your studies until the end of 4th year or 5th year, you keep on continuing. Later, when you start to compile your thesis, you just update some of the references. So this is how a systematic way to do a good research and also to start managing your thesis, right? Next. So also verify through, when you start to write a review paper, you have already go through so many references, and I believe it can verify the information from several resources, not only the publication on the journals, but also maybe from the pattern, from the academic, several other publications. So this is very important to make sure that the content is correct, right? Next is and also good research is also all about finding answers to your research question, and not necessarily as the way to verify what you already think you know. So this is what they are saying, that your research maybe it doesn't follow your hypothesis, and you have to accept this. Sometimes you predict differently, but you get a different answer. And this is what, when you conduct a research, make sure to keep an open mind, and so that you can learn as deeply as possible. So in halfway, it's not as what you predicted. You have to be open mind to change and to improve your research. So this is a thing that you need to have in order to do a good research. Sometimes they deny, they cannot accept. So they still want to do as what they have planned to do. But I mean, in real, sometimes it doesn't go in that way. So we have to accept that as an open mind and stay organized. Because I believe that that is the reason why when you start to do a literature review, you have a lot of references. For me, if you want to do a literature review, minimum you need to have, I can see that now a good literature review is about 120 references. So for me, if you want to start a research, make sure that you have that amount of references before you go detailed to finalize your objective, to finalize your problem statement, to finalize your methodology. Then you'll be very confident. And by doing so, and by doing a proper literature review, you will stay organized. So it's not that maybe you have, if you don't do in that way, not especially the students, when they start to read a lot of literature review, some review will be missing, some references will be missing, even maybe they are referring to some references, it will be lost. So finally, when they start to write their thesis, they cannot find the references, but they are referring to that particular references. They are citing the references. So you have to make sure that you keep organized. So bookmark in your internet, browser, index card, and annotated bibliography that you can update it as you go. So this is very, very important, because we don't want to just spend our time just repeating things that we have done before. So this is wasting time. And in fact, the time that you are trying to find something you have found, you can spend for a new research. So this is very, very important. Next is about take advantage on library resources. This is also very important, because I found out that some of the researchers, they don't even go to the library. Actually, they have plenty of place that you can get help. I don't know, maybe the similar goes to UII. I believe they also have a very comprehensive library, and we know that at this current condition, maybe some of our universities, they don't subscribe some of the journals, some of the important journals, because we don't have budget. So university will be your library will be the place where we can do some buying through the library. We can do some loans now, not only like money, but also the journals also we can get through the library, although we cannot directly download the papers, but we can use the library facilities to get some of the unsubscribed journal. So this is very, very important, and we cannot just simply give a reason saying that, oh, I cannot access the journal, so I don't do the research on that journal. In fact, maybe that journal is very high impact journal. So you have to find some alternative how to get that particular journal. So this is very important, right? Next point is that you need to have analytical mind. So what is analytical mind? This is given by Gareth Hodgson. So always update and consistently analyze. why does the client ultimately want to do this research? So this is very important to ask ourselves. What is the appropriate methodology? Why should this research take place? What are the appropriate questions to ask and how? Why did the respondents say that? What are the findings telling us? And are they telling us that? How do I best communicate the findings? So these are the things that you need to answer. So when you answer all these questions, so that means your research, you are doing a good research. And also if you see the last point, how do I best communicate the finding? So here, finally, when you have completed your research, sometimes some of the students or some of the researchers, they do really a good research, but then the thing is only in the room. It's in the thesis, it's placed in the library, it's in our cupboard, but we don't publish. So when we don't do a publication, how can we tell our research to the others? How can we communicate our research to the others? So the publication is very, very important in order to make sure that people knows about our research and people continue doing the research. We don't want the research stop at our level. We want the research to expand, and they want people to refer to our research, to communicate with us, to collaborate with us. So this is very, very important. So this is how to do a research, a good research. Next, I'm going to share something on the quality of a good researcher. So because I believe doing a good research and also quality of a good researcher, that can make you a successful researcher. So the first point that I'm going to highlight today is about we have to be friendly with respondent. We should talk to them in the same language and in which the responding are answering and make happy make. So this is what, for example, if we are getting a review from some reviewer, when we plan to publish paper, right? Of course, we have some reviewer to read our papers. So when you do the rebuttal, be nice to them. From my experience, okay, especially the high impact journal, when you send the paper to that particular journal, when they give you some minor or major comments, for me, I'm happy. Although you are asked to revise, because very seldom for our paper to get published directly. This is very, very seldom happens. So although it's a minor or major, sometimes you get like 3 to 6 pages, sometimes 10 pages of comments. Don't worry, just go for it. So you have to be nice. You can do a rebuttal, but in nice tone. Because from my experience, when you do a proper revision, follow the instruction, most of the time your paper can get published. So I can say 95% of it. Even I can put it as 99%. Very seldom. There are some paper get rejected, maybe due to some other reasons. But most of the time, if you get you do a good response toward the reviewer comment, although it's a major ataupun minor, inshallah, your paper can get published. But provided that you put in a nice way, do a rebuttal in a very nice way. So that is very, very important. And list this encouragement. If the people are not cooperating in giving the correct data, the researcher should not be discouraged and face the difficulty. So this one also happens. So when you, for example, maybe among the postgraduate students, maybe you have several people doing the same research in the same lab. Similar research, it's not the same. Similar research in the same lab. But sometimes it's very good to work in a team, but we cannot expect an ideal situation. Maybe there are somebody that, reluctant, there's some miscommunication and things like that. And the important thing is that you don't get disappointed, don't get discouraged, and make sure you proceed You find an alternative, see your supervisors, and you proceed. So this is very, very important in order to become a good researcher. And you have to be good also to the person that is not cooperating with you. It's not that when they don't want to cooperate and we also don't want to talk to them. So this one, I mean, I can say that it's going to be, it's not nice, it's not a team when working in the same environment. So this is not good. So what you do, just make it like, okay, fine, I'm not getting the data through him or her, but I'm getting from a different option. So this thing should be in your mind. So always be positive, all right? And free from prejudice. A researcher should be good and he has no prejudice or bias about a problematic situation and is capable of providing clear information. This one also very, very important. Don't bias. Maybe you are fans of something and you're biased towards that. So this is also very, you have to be really truthful, and also really you need to have integrity as a researcher. Then you can be a good researcher. Capacity of depth information, researchers should have the capacity to collect more and more information in a limited time. For example, if you are given like 2 months, for me, normally we give the student 2 months. You have to come up with the first draft of review paper, inclusive of 80 to 100 references, for example. So you have, although it's limited, limited time, but you have to do try to find the information, and you have to make it within that short period of time. Then you are a good researcher. But if it takes like 2 years, 3 years, then how can we define we are a good researcher? So this is very important. Do a deep depth information within a limited time. So if you're giving 2 years, 3 years, that is normal. So we don't call you as a good researcher. Next, accuracy. So this should be very accurate. Her idea must be, he or she must address an accurate idea. Not to say that today he's saying something else and tomorrow there's a new statement which doesn't compromise each other. So this is very, very important. So when you are a good researcher, people are looking at you. So make sure this thing don't happen, right? Truthful, as I mentioned to you, truthful, free from false reports and saying information. Sometimes we don't get A, but we say we get A. We get B, for example. That's why I always tell my students, when you do a thesis, if you get negative result, don't worry. You're not going to fail your PhD. All right? Because maybe you have problem in publishing papers, because sometimes when we try to deny something, some statement in the in journals, it will take a longer time because we have to prove with a lot of experimental work when we try to deny a trend. But in a thesis, when you start to do some research, maybe some species A, but you get a negative results. What does that negative result means? Normally, when we start to do a research, we're expecting some improvement, some positive results, better than others, or at least a par. But then what happens is that when you have done some research, you get negative. That means you have confirmed that species A cannot be used. In terms of thesis, yes, you pass. Not to worry, not to write a false report. Just come to the supervisor, say, Prof, next time we cannot do this material. This material is giving negative. So as for PhD, yes, you pass. So don't try to create new report, new answer to make sure that you compliment everybody, saying that you get a great result. But then when other people try to repeat the same thing, then it's not replicable. So then, I mean, your credibility will lose. So not to do that, right? And keep observing. So keep observing ideas of keen and deep observation. This is very important. Do a good observation. Don't just look and say. You have to observe and think, and you say something, right? Careful in listening. Careful in very low information, even whispering. Very careful. Quality of listening is very, very important. This is not, we are saying that you have to have a good hearing. Listening in terms of you get some information, you have to grab the information. Although maybe you just hear something very small, but you can pick up the thing and you can make it big. but provided that is a positive way, right? Not to say that bad thing to about others, but a positive things to do in research, right? You have to have careful listening in doing research, right? Not telling back to other people about other people, right? Then low dependency on common sense. For example, I can say that coincidentally we are in the pandemic situation. Don't give reasons all the time. We cannot proceed because of pandemic. Yeah, for quite some time, but I believe that although you are not entering the lab, you can do a lot of other things. For example, you can write papers, you can get a lot of information, you can write proposal to get funding. Even the students or the lecturer. For me, you can do a lot of things. Besides, only that you can do, you cannot enter your lab. You cannot do things physically. But other than that, I think maybe you are not efficient in terms of 100% delivering your task, but I believe during the pandemic, at least 70 to 80% you can do a lot of things. So for me, there's no any reason saying that for 2020, 2029, I'm not performing because of pandemic. Because you can write papers, maybe you cannot write technical papers, but you can do a good review paper. For me, if you just really do a good review paper without interruption during the pandemic, you don't have many interruption, you don't have online classes, you don't have to meet no meeting, not much meeting. Maybe on 2020, yes, but on 2029, less meeting, so less commitments. I think we should do great things. We should think positively and do many things during the pandemic. Pandemic is not the main reason lah. If we are saying everything every day, when we ask students why we are not performing because of pandemic, so that shouldn't be the main reason. Try to find options. We can do a lot of things for me. All right, during the pandemic, although we are at home. Okay, next, least time, good researcher must have the capacity of least time consuming. As I mentioned to you, everything must be fast. So when we give you a task, you don't have to wait 1 month before starting to do. After 1 month, just started to do. So this shouldn't be the way. For me, if we are giving you a task, so maybe in 1 week time you already responded. So that will be an indicator of a good researcher. Also, we must have a good control on economic resources. Yeah, sometimes money is very important for us to undergo a research, but I can share to you in 2017, when the economic is not that good before the pandemic, there's one researcher in Australia, he managed to publish 13 review papers in high impact journal in 1 year. So for me, when you don't have funding, you can do in other way. Maybe labs in terms of technical papers, but you still can do a good research. Maybe you can start with your literature review. In fact, for me, I believe that each one of you having undergraduate students, even in UKM, also in UII. So I believe each one of you having undergraduate student where you don't have to pay any scholarship. It's paid through the government. So you can use these students to publish your paper. If you really plan your research, they can help you. Minimum, maybe you have like 2 to 3 students. So I believe, and even if we have funding, we have to have a good control on it. So that is an indicator of a good research. So not to say that we get a lot of funding, then only we can publish. Although in small funding, we have to plan to do a good research and publications. Low care of this approval of society. So this one also very important. Work with work with energy and passion to it, and expert in subject. A researcher should be expert in subject. So when we claim we are experts, so when people ask something about that, at least we should know what is it about. Maybe not very deep, but if you're claim that you are the expert, so you should know. So don't just like there are also some people like claiming expert in all the subjects. When we ask them, maybe they are not that good. So we don't want, that is not an indicator of a good researcher. Although maybe you are very expert in only one subject, it doesn't matter. So since you are expert in that subject, you are really expert, you can answer everything, so you are a good researcher. No matter, it's not on how many subjects that you are expert in, but how deep you are expert in one subject. So that is very, very important as an indicator of a good researcher. Right. Next, free from hasty statements. Don't do some invalid or wrong statements. Okay, and always refer to the reality and validity, because I can say that especially for the senior professors, when you are a professor, people are looking at you. Every time when you do a statement, people will listen, and if you do something wrong, they really they will get it very fast. And that is not good as an indicator of a good researcher. And also good in conversation. You have to be, I can say that you have to have the skill and art to like by the people. Not to say that you follow everything that people want, but you have to have skill, how to feel, how to respect people, and you have to have sympathetic as well. So the combination of this can make you a good researcher, even with the students. For me, I feel that for me, I always tell to the others that student is the asset to the lecturers, academics. So we have to understand the student, but at the same time, the student also have to understand the academic and cooperate. So as much as we can. So this is a good indicator of a good researcher. So having clear terminology, free from outwards to become difficult from the respondent to answer. So we have to be very straightforward and trained in research tool as well. So this is also very important, especially like myself, quite senior professors. Now we can find a lot of new tools. So we also have to update it. We like it or not, we have to be with the younger generation, and we have to follow their trend. Okay, I got, now we are moving to the next session, should be the last session for this. Dr. Ifa, saya ada berapa minit? 15 minit lagi ke Dr. Ifa? Sudah habis ya Dr. Ifa?
Tinggal 10:30.
Alright.
8 minit lagi.
8 minit lagi. So I got my, several, I'll go very fast. Okay, again, dress and behavior, same to the area. This one also very important, as I mentioned to you. If you're a researcher, people will look at you more analytical, all right? Observe the situation, answer accordingly, and equality and justice is very, very important, right? So I'm going to the next section, okay? So for the next session, this is the combination of a good researcher and also a good research. So the important skills that you have to have is humble and able to listen to others. So this can be an indicator of a good researcher. Be humble and open to criticism. So when you do something, then you have to admit it and repeat it and tell them. Always understand how people will view your work, because most of the time, when we do our research, we are publishing, we are giving our opinion. But this thing will happen when we attend a presentation. So when we attend a presentation, the people will respond. Or a conference, proceeding, people will respond. So when people respond, we have to take it very humbly and also be open for criticism. And we have to address it accordingly. Don't feel angry, right? So this is very important to successful in your research. Building a social network. This one also another parameter. Although you do a good research, you are a good researcher, but as I mentioned to you just now, if you just stop it at your lab, in your room, in your university, then it's not going to build up your social network. So you have to take the opportunity to meet others, establish contact with others, building a social network. So this is very, very important, especially like PhD for another universities like Dr. Ifa today. Dr. Ifa did her PhD in UKM, but now we are meeting her again as she is academic and we are collaborating. So these are the opportunities that we can use that for building the networks, and also later maybe she will come as visiting professor, maybe she will come as postdoc, and so this seems similar goes to the others, right? So this is how we build the network. Next, working hard and working smart. So this is very important because we know everyone is working hard, but we also have to plan to work smart. How to work smart? We can be more efficient in shorter period of time. So this is very, very important to become a successful. Maybe other people takes 1 year, but we take only 6 months. So this differentiates us with others as a successful researcher. So these are some of the tips that you need to have in order to become successful. Having a clear goals, you have to refer to the team and the minor team and the major team, as I explained to you earlier. So you have to have a clear goal. And we don't want you start in the middle. We don't want to start, everyone is doing A, so we also want to do A. But you have to plan how to get to A. So you have several other layers of researchers to come to A, and not to jump into A. Then you don't know what is happening at the bottom. So this is very, very important. So we can go back and map what I'm going to do now and what I'm going to do maybe in 5 years time and what I'm going to get in 10 years time. So this is very, very important to become a successful researcher. Stepping out the comfort zone. You have to do something else compared to what people are doing. So this makes you very unique. So one of the point is explore new research after next. Maybe you feel that everyone is doing A, but I'm doing B. So, but you have to make sure that B that you are doing is next in future research. Maybe when everyone is established, everyone is expert, but you are going to be the expert in 10 years time. So that is very, very important parameter to make sure that you are successful in future. Right, having a very good writing skills. Oh, this is very, very important. Normally, I'll be invited also for doing review papers. And most of the time, I'll be invited for writing review papers. Today, I'm invited for different topic. Actually, to give you a lecture on writing a good skills, it take another Benkil, another webinar. Right. So this is also very, very important. How to write in high impact journal. How to have a writing skills. So this is very, very important. To convey your knowledge, to convey your findings. So or else you cannot be successful. Okay. So I have another like 2 minutes as a conclusion, right? I can conclude that in 4 points. Be patient and work hard, right? Keep learning and try to improve your weakness. Okay. Surround yourself with many people who have more experience and can guide and help you. And finally, try to manage your time well. So these 4 points is very, very important for you to become a successful researchers. And I would like to finish my talk today with some quotes, some motivational quotes from all the experts, like Albert Einstein, saying that imagination is more important than knowledge. So you have to imagine something, then you have to do the research. Science doesn't care what you believe. Maybe you believe on something, but you find something else. Push yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. So you have to move. Everything is theoretical, impossible until it is done. And the last one, success is not a final, failure is not a fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. So with that, I'll thank the audience for their patience, and I'll hand over to Dr. Ang for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Siti, for the insightful sharing. Okay, a gentle reminder to all the audience and participants, if you have any questions, you can drop your questions in the chat box. So I will bring it up at the end of the session for our discussions. Okay. So let's move on to our second speaker, which is Associate Professor Dr. Sholeh Mahmood. Dr. Sholeh is a lecturer in the Department of Chemical Engineering, Universitas Islam Indonesia, UII. He obtained his PhD from the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, Trondheim, Norway. And his research interest includes carbon dioxide capture process technology and utilization, energy, chemical reaction engineering, modeling, and simulation. Dr. Sholeh has involved in a few research projects, with the latest research projects entitled Optimization of Bioethanol Production from Microalgae cholera vulgaris using Simultaneous Carbon Capture Process. And he also contributes to the scientific community by being a reviewer and editor for numerous journals. So without delay, let's welcome Dr. Sholeh to deliver his talk on how to be a good researcher. So Dr. Sholeh, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ang. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone, and good day. So this morning, I'd like to talk about, let me share first my slide here. Can you see my slide right now?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, thank you. So this is the topic what I'd like to talk today, since most of the audiences are the undergraduate students. So the objective of my talk today is to give motivation and also give insight to undergraduate students to conduct research in the future. So the topic is, or the title of my talk today is, what do we conduct research? So I'm Salman from the Department of Chemical Engineering UII. So here the outline that I would be explaining today. The first, I'd like to explain about the definition of research, the purpose of research, and also the importance of research, the research steps that should be done. And also the last one is about what next to do. Sometimes someone may be questioning, what is research? Actually, research is a systematic inquiry to what? To describe, and also to explain, and also to predict, and also to control. For what? To control the observed phenomenon. And then using a logical steps here, and we will come up into a conclusion. That's research. That's a definition of research. And for example, so actually I'm working on this microalgae as a biomass source for biofuel sources here. So as we can see from the picture that this is the growth kinetic of microalgae. So we can, as a researcher, so we have to describe what is it and explain what happened in the process and predict what will be going on, and control of what, and control of growth rate of the microalgae, and using a logical step, and it will be come up into a kinetic growth rate formulation as a conclusion. The purpose of the research, actually the main purpose of research are to inform action. So we have to inform our action and also gather evidence for theories we have. So gather information, gather evidence for theories, and also contribute to developing knowledge in a field of study. So here, so our field study is, for example, chemical engineering. And the next question is, why is research important? The first reason, research is a tool for building knowledge and facilitating learning. For example, here, as I mentioned it before, so example one is microalgae as a biofuel sources. So from this topic, so it should be something to do with R&D activities to convert microalgae to be a biofuel, so which is ethanol. As we can see that bioethanol can be mixed with gasoline, as a fuel of automobile. And then research is also a tool, also the same, but it will be the example too, which is the global warming phenomenon. As we can see here, we face this problem globally, which is global warming, and then how to solve this problem. So actually, so we need to do some research and also development R&D activities to achieve the goal. What is the goal? To achieve the green world, of course. And the second reason, so research helps us to succeed in business. For example, like what we happen, in 2 years here from 19. So this is a coronavirus. This one, so the expert or the researcher will be trying to formulate new vaccines within R&D activities. And once they got a vaccine for the coronaviruses, so the next step, it will be commercialization. So they will get money from here. And the second example, is still the global warming problem, which is the most problem facing today. So how to solve this problem? Actually, so people or researchers try to reduce the CO2 emissions by developing new technology for CO2 reduction, such as here, as we can see in the figure. So there is a pilot plant. Actually, this is in Norway. I was working there, and I was working with the operators. So people or researchers try to solve a problem using, one of the technology is the CCS research. And the result will be applied into like a power plant. Actually, this is a SAS power, so which is located in Canada, which is the very first carbon capture coal plant. And the third reason, research promotes a love of and confidence in reading, writing, analyzing, and sharing valuable information. So as you can see here, if from research activities, so we can publish our research into conference and also into international journal, even I mean apply for patent, and also we can get information about our research topic from conference itself and also from article from the journal, even patent. And the other reasons, research also mean to understand issues and increase public awareness, and also allow us to disproportionalize, of course, disproportionalize and support truth. And also research is a mean to find, gauge, and set opportunities. And I think the other reasons, research provides nourishment and exercise for our minds. For example, so our mind needs something with knowledge actually here, so it should be refreshment. Yeah, so it needs like refreshment with knowledge, of course. So we can get there by doing research. The next, I mean, the next topic chapter is about research steps. So at least there are about 9 steps to conduct research. The first one here is the identifying the problem we face, and also the second one, the second step is reviewing literature, and then continue with clarifying the problem. And the fourth step is choosing research design and define a sample population. And the next step will be designing experimental setup, and also collecting the data and then analyzing the data. And the last one is writing the report. So here I will be explaining one by one of this step. Step 1, identifying the problem. As we may know together that recent problem faced by the world community, like global warming, plastic pollution, and also energy crisis. So saying here, we will pick one of the problem here. So we'll pick this one, a global warming problem. So we already just identified the problem we have chosen. The second step, conducting literature reviews. So we got information from literature, from many journal here, publisher, starting from Elsevier, Teller, and Francis, Relay, and so on. So at least we have to read, according to Professor Sudikatum, so at least we need 80 up to 100 papers. I mean to support our research here. And the next step, the step 3, is clarifying the problem. So in this step, so we will be defining research question and also objective and hypothesis. Since we chose this problem, global warming, as an example, so the research question will be, is this global warming problem caused by GHG, greenhouse gases, especially CO2? And then we define the objective of the research will be conducted. The objective of this research is to reduce CO2 emission. And the next one, we have to defining the hypothesis. The hypothesis could be that the post-combustion capture as one of the technologies that can be applied to reduce CO2 emission. So here, as we know that CO2 can cause the global warming, and the sources of CO2 could be from coal-fired power plant, also from iron and steel industry, and of course from transportation here. The next step, step 4, we are choosing the research design. So choose the research approach here. So there will be 2 types of research here, deductive or inductive. Deductive is we are starting from the theories and then come up into the data. So this is a normal, or people usually do the research from theory, and then we will be proving the theory by collecting data by experiment. And the second one, inductive. So inductive, it's like vice versa with the deductive. So in inductive research, so we are taking many data from experiment, and it will become up into a theory that it is really it's not open to do by researcher. After we choose the kind of research approach like deductive, and then we should choose what kind of method we will be applying for our research. So there are 3 types here according to Creswell, I think. So the first one is qualitative method. So it's qualitative method usually is applied by or is used by people from social sciences, and for engineering usually using quantitative method, and also there is a mixed method. So this is a mixture between qualitative and quantitative method. For qualitative could be the example like getting information from a survey and so on. Okay, now we coming into the step number 5. So after after we choose the research design, so we go to the next step here. So we are defining the sample population. So since we just took example which is global warming phenomena. Here there is a like research activity map here. So this is CO2 removal processes. So it will be divided into 2 quantities of CO2 sources, large quantity and also a small quantity. For large quantity, so it should be divided into wet processes and also dry processes. Also the same for small quantity of CO2 wet and dry processes. So in this is for example for from my research activity, what I've done until now. So here, so for wet processes here, so there are 2 types of process here. So it should be with H2S as well instead of CO2, and also no H2S. If there is H2S included in the emission, so we could have this process like amine hybrid solvent. So here is my research about base absorption processes. So here in this process, we use a solvent which is amine-based absorbent to capture CO2 from flue gas. From flue gases. And still defining the sample. So we still, since we will be working with solvent here or absorbent, so we need to define the sample population here. So the first one, so it's like selecting of new solvent. So it is like screening activities. So we have a lot of solvent lists that could capture CO2 from the gas sources, from the gas stream, and then we can conduct a research to select with solvent that give like a promising one. So actually this will be a research activity. And once we got the candidate, a solvent candidate, so we need to go further for the research activity. So here, so we need to conduct like a solvent characterization activities. So which could be including here. So we have a liquid equilibrium activities for experiment, and also heat absorption determination, and also kinetic determination and degradation of the solvent, including a corrosion experiment activity. So we already defined the sample population. Say here, I would choose this one, the PLE activities, so the PLE research. So the next step is step 6 is designing experimental setup. So since I just choose VLE activities, so here for the first figure, so this is the setup for screening for screening experiment. So I was trying to screen several candidate solvent to have that can be capturing CO2 from the flue gas. So from this apparatus, so I can design with solvent with solvent that promise or has potential to be to capture absorbent. And the next step, it will be a characterization of the solvent activities here. So we were trying to measure the VLE liquid equilibrium at low pressure using this apparatus, and then for medium pressure using this apparatus, and for high pressure using this apparatus. So the other experiment, instead of VLE experiment, we had conducted another research, which is a kinetic research activity. So by kinetic, we can determine the rate constant for the solvent that we will be using for capturing CO2. So by knowing the K value, so we can design the size of the reactor or the absorber. And the next step is collecting data. Remember to make a logbook to write all data from the experiment. So this is just one example that from my data for the screening from the screening experiment. Some word here in Norwegian, actually it's absorption and so on. Yeah, this is Norwegian. Okay, so this is step 7. And the next step, step 8, analyzing the data. After we got the data from the experiment, so we need to analyze the data, of course, by using the theory we have. Like here, so the first figure, this is the data from a screening test. So screening test, here we got the data by using this formula. So formula, so we can write here. So we can develop the net cycle capacity of the solvent versus CO2 absorption rate here. So we can compare between the two solvent here. And still, step 8, analyzing the data. This is the data for VLE experiment. So it was for different temperature here. And by using the theory we have, so we try to model the data got from the experiment by using certain model. So we can find a model, and also we could define speciation. So what kind of species existing in the system here. And the last step, I think, writing the report. Of course, this is really important to write the report. Okay. So from after analyzing the data, so we need to write a report. And here's the step for doing or conducting research. And the next one is, what is the next to do after we write the report? Of course, maybe we could publish the results, and also we could apply for a patent and so on. I think, yeah, that's presentation from me today. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Soleh, for the sharing. So now we have come to the Q&A session. If you have any questions, you can type it out in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and voice up the question. Okay. So we have one question from Dr. Amru. Okay. So either I think both of the speakers can answer this. So I just read out the question. The question is regarding the time management. So how do we academicians allocate time for research? I mean, how do we manage time effectively doing other academic tasks without jeopardizing the research work? So probably maybe Prof. Siti or Dr. Soleh, you can share your thought on this. Maybe Prof. Siti, you want to share your answer for this first?
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ang. I just give some from my own experience. What I can share that for me, if you can give a full quality time from 8:30 to 5:30 during your working hours, that will be excellent, right? So if somebody else can do better than that, particularly for the men, they can do work after working hours towards the night, then they can do excellent, better than the one that we are doing during the working hours. And the other thing is that it's very important when you do a research, as I mentioned just now, you have to have some, you can say the Gantt chart, or not. Gantt chart is only not for the research, but also for the students, but also for the researchers. So you have to plan your career. When you want to become the professor, when you want to become the Professor Madya, associate professor, that is for the career path. While for the research, you have to make sure that every day you have time for the research. Maybe not every day, but in 1 week, spend your time, especially for the one like holding management post. Make sure you have time for the students, you have time for your research, and also you have time for the management. So please spare your time. What I will do is that I'll try my best to allocate my time after lunch. After 2 o'clock is only for research, unless we cannot avoid. So I'll make sure my PA will say, try to spare the time. If we cannot avoid, at least you have to spare like two days per week to do your research. So that is what I can share. Maybe Dr. Soleh can share some experience.
Okay, thank you. Maybe my experiment like this. So I'm also an academic. So I have to teach students actually, from 5 days. But sometimes it's until the afternoon. So sometimes until 6 o'clock. But fortunately, I just assigned, get the duty from the department until from Monday up to Wednesday. So I can do research maybe from Thursday and Friday. So yeah, actually, so I do agree with Professor Siti. So we have to allocate our time. So we have to be clever with the time management. So I think that's my word.
And Dr. Ang, Dr. Ang, if I can add something, Dr. Ang, and the other thing is that the student is very, very important. Sometimes we cannot do on our own. So you have to help the student to manage their time in order them to help you. So that is very important things.
Yeah, there's a good advice for, especially for those lecturers who have a student. So you have to help the students to manage their time, not only our own time. Okay, so we have maybe another questions from Dr. Fadila. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Fadila. I'm from Universitas Islam Indonesia. I have 2 questions. The first one is to Professor Siti. My question is how to conduct good research with limited resources. And then the second question will be for Dr. Soleh. So my question is that you mentioned that designing a research should start from identifying problems, but there are so many problems in this world, and sometimes it is hard for young researchers to determine where to start. And sometimes it's even hard for a new researcher to even decide a research area. So what's your suggestion regarding this? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Fadila. So the first question is more on with limited resource. So how are we going to conduct the research? And the second question is on identifying the research topics. So maybe we can invite Prof. Siti Kartom to answer the first question.
Okay, thank you, Dr. and also Fadila for the question. Just I want to ask, Dr. Fadila is academic or student?
I'm a lecturer in chemical engineering.
Sorry, because you look very young. That's why. Right. Okay. Okay. So because we have different view. If you're a student, then we have different view. If you're academic, then we have different view. So as an academic, as I mentioned to you just now, yes, I believe everyone, especially the young academics, when you want to start a research, you have to have students. In order to have a student, you have to have a funding. And this is quite difficult to get funding, especially during the pandemic. We know even the ministries, the universities, they have very limited fund. So I said, I don't know the policy in your university. Like in our university, normally we have undergraduate students. It's compulsory for us to have undergraduate students. It's a must. So one of the way is to at least to move forward, to kick off. You can use these undergraduate students to do your research. That is one. But however, of course, if you because like in our university, if you have undergraduate students, all the expenditure, the chemicals is sponsored by that particular department. So you can use that facilities, right? But then again, happens that you have also limited kind of resources like equipments. I can suggest that we can do a collaboration from different departments or different universities. So we can have a win-win situation where maybe we are providing the resources, but you have the idea, and we can do a joint collaboration and joint supervision as well as joint publication. So besides getting the publication, we also get a network, a research network. We can develop a research network. And I can see that it's a good way to kick off. And finally, when you already establish, of course, in order for you to get a good funding, you need to show some proof on the achievement, on your achievement, right? So based on that initial collaboration, initial research, you can start to move to find some proposal. But particularly limited resources always reflected to funding and also equipments. So the best I can suggest is that we cannot buy equipment in a very limited funding, but we can do collaboration will be the option.
All right, thank you very much for your explanation.
Thank you, Prof. Siti. So Dr. Soleh, would you like to answer the second question?
Yeah, thank you, Laurent. So the question is how to define the research topic. Now, of course, maybe my answer will be, I think the best way is to read or to find the current issue in the world or in the community. Yeah, once we know the issue facing by the community or by the world, so maybe we can get maybe a problem faced by the community. So we can get from there by by reading newspaper and so on, watching TV, and so we can get the information about the current issue. And the next thing, maybe for undergraduate students. So usually what I was facing about the undergraduate student, usually they don't have any topic for their research. So sometimes they could maybe ask the supervisor. So maybe and then discuss with the supervisor, and then about many topics. And I think it will be come up into pyramids at the top. So we can decide. So this is the best topic, the current topic, and it's really interesting. So you can start choosing this problem. And for maybe for academic or lecturer, so I think the best way, I think we could collaborate with our our colleague or other collaborator, both from university or UII or from other or outside university. So that's all my answer, Dr. Ang. Maybe maybe Prof. Siri, would you maybe add some advice?
I think it's very perfect, Dr. Shirley. Only that just now, based on the limited resources, the other option is that you can start from modeling as well, because modeling doesn't request any chemicals and also proper place. So you can kind of like start some simple modeling, design work from your PC. So that would be another option if you have, because I didn't know. You are referring to what type of limited resources? Is it in terms of funding, equipments, or maybe funding for buying chemicals? So these are some of the options that we can suggest.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Saleh, and also Professor Siti.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions from the audience and participants?
Yes.
Okay. May I know who are you? You can voice up.
My name is Apri. I have questions.
Yes.
For both of the professors, is every research have to be a breakthrough? If so, by focusing on producing high quality research, wouldn't that be too much of time consuming? And also by producing a mediocre research, it won't contribute to new knowledge and somehow waste of money. I would like to know your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Professor, I believe the questions is regarding the type of research that we get involved. So must all the research be a breakthrough, or that will bring a very impactful outcomes from the research? And the concern is about the time consumed, because normally we associate the high quality research with the time to be spent on the research activities itself.
Sorry, that means does all the research must have a breakthrough? Is it? That is the question, right? Okay. When we are saying research after next, I believe that yes, for me, you have to have breakthrough. However, in order for you to achieve that to that stage, you have several levels to pass through. A good quality research, I agree with Dr. Apri. I don't know, is it Dr. Oni? I agree with Pa Apri. That means, it will take longer period of time. We know that a Nobel laureate, it takes like 50 years to come to be awarded as a Nobel laureate. So like us in science, it's quite different from science technology and science social. If we are from science technology, I agree we take years to come to one findings, to patent the product and to commercialize the product, and the product to be in the community. So in order to come to the patents, you have several publications. How to produce the publication is from the fundamental research. So to get one breakthrough, it takes time. As compared to the science social, they are more towards policy. You can have it at the community maybe in 2 or 3 years time, but not for science and technology. And for me, yes, you have to have breakthrough, but not in short period of time. But in order to achieve that, you can find a lot of other things to explore too. And you have we can see it's a career pathway. So throughout that process, you still can be excellent in publications. You still can excellent in research by publishing and getting grants, patenting some of the basic components in order for you to achieve to the main breakthrough. So that is my answer.
Okay, but Apri, I believe that you have another question, right? So the breakthrough is the first question. Could you repeat your second question again?
Yes. The continuation is by producing the mediocre research, it wouldn't it contribute it would not contribute to new knowledge, and somehow maybe waste of money. That's what I think. I want to know your thoughts on that.
You mean if we do not conduct research on a breakthrough topics?
Yes.
So it will be a wasting for resource and time.
Yes.
Okay. So, Prof. Siti. So I believe I mean the concept here is regarding whether the research that we do is a breakthrough research or not. So maybe you can clarify on this.
Yeah, Pak Apri, for me, I think in our career as an academic, maybe we cannot find we cannot find or we cannot get all our single research as big breakthrough. But it's a process to achieve 1 or 2 breakthrough in our career pathway, because I believe that to be a good researcher, each one of us, at least you need to have at least one workable pattern. Why I meant as workable pattern, everyone can patent product, but it doesn't mean that when you patent your product is commercialized or used by the community. So in order to get a workable product, some really breakthrough in your life, throughout maybe it may take 20 or 30 years. So it's not a waste, because I think this is a process. Although you feel that on your way to get the breakthrough, you are conducting several other researches, it's not a waste. So everything is a knowledge. So maybe you can see that several other audience are going to cite your paper. So it's not for me. You are relaying or you are giving the knowledge to the others, and not wasting of time or funding, but provided that you do a proper planning. You cannot keep on changing your track or keep on changing your goalpost. You have to have one goalpost and you have to plan towards that goalpost. Or else, if you are changing your goalpost, then maybe, because we cannot come to the breakthrough research, we just do halfway and we change. That maybe we can consider wasting time.
Thanks, Prof. Siti. So for Pak Apri, what Prof. Siti means is actually if we conduct a proper research with a proper planning, so all the research either done by us or other researchers, all the knowledge or the findings will be combined and eventually contribute to a breakthrough, because a breakthrough normally requires time and a lot of information and knowledge. So are you clear with that?
Yes. I'm satisfied with the answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we have another question from researchers in UII. So the question is on the researchers in UII face constraint related to characterizing the sample, for example, using the NMR instruments or BD instruments or XPS instruments. So is there any chance for the researchers from UII to analyze their sample in our department in UKM or using the Aruba instruments in UKM lab? I think Prof. Siti can answer this. I believe you have the experience having this kind of connections for doing the analysis for sample.
Yeah, sure. Actually, we have several pathways to come to UKM to do a collaboration. We have like mobility program or intern or attachment. Just now we were discussing with Dr. Ifa. There's some potential of collaboration where you can come to UKM as a TASH program, maybe like 3 to 6 months. You can come to UKM as mobility, we call it inbound mobility program, or maybe you can have some kind of collaboration pool supervision where you only send your samples to the supervisor here and they will conduct, but provided that we have some kind of agreement between the 2 universities and we have some joint collaboration, then it's not a problem. So it's possible. You're welcome to UKM to do such a collaboration.
Can I add some comment, Professor?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. If we have bring our sample to UKM, do you charge per sample? Maybe
that is the reason why tadi Pak I was mentioning about the agreement.
Okay.
We have proper MOU, MOA, and also we have like joint collaboration, joint supervision, joint publication. Then you can send it to UKM at the most. There will be some supported by the supervisor in UKM with a discounted, but they should have some kind of collaboration and agreement.
Okay.
and joint supervision. Then you are going to get free, but
Okay.
the supervisor from UKM will support the funding.
Okay. And how about I have some funding from the government. That is possible, and from I'm sorry, funding from the university or from the government of Indonesia. There is any possibility to what we say? Kita menggunakan pensyarah dari UKM untuk become our member. That is possible?
Bisa Pak, boleh Pak, tak ada masalah. I think saya pun merasakan bahawa selepas ini melalui Dr. Ifa kita boleh wujudkan kolaborasi tersebut.
InsyaAllah.
Kita boleh ada banyak program. Tadi pun Bapa ada sebut pasal community service dan sebagainya. Boleh dimasukkan agenda-agenda ni di dalam, termasuk co-supervision, co-publication. Boleh Pak. Boleh juga dengan selain daripada dengan jabatan, boleh juga dengan Self-Fuel, UKM Fuel Cell Institute juga boleh masuk sekali. Kita ada 2 di sana, di bawah Kedudukan Kimia, di bawah Dr. Masri tadi, dan juga di bawah Self-Fuel saya sebagai pengarah juga kita welcome UII bersama juga.
Oke, terima kasih Profesor.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the audience and participants? Don't be shy because we have our distinguished speakers here, so they can share their experience with you. If you are interested in research and you wish to get involved in this academic field.
Maybe if we can have somebody want to do PhD in UKM also, we welcome.
Okay.
Masters or PhD, we welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe Prof. Siti, you can share some of the info about how to enroll in the master and the PhD, which pathway that can be taken if the students from Indonesia that wish to come to UKM.
Yeah, I can talk on behalf of both because I'm also a lecturer in Faculty of Engineering, but now currently I'm in the Fuel Cell Institute as the director, but basically I'm still teaching in chemical engineering. And so in fact, I think chemical engineering from UII is very clear. We are having the same field, and we welcome the student to join us from different, like we have membrane, catalyst, I think similar like UII, and also for Fuel Cell Institute, because we are focusing on hydrogen fuel cell, and in fact we have many types of fuel cell, and also on hydrogen biofuel, because I saw also like Dr. Sholeh also doing some renewable energy kinds of like that. So we also welcome that kind of research collaboration because we have that in engineering, but it's specialized in Fuel Cell Institute. So we welcome if you want to have like sending your students some kind of attachment. So we welcome even the professor also. They can come to become our visiting professors, visiting lecturers to our universities.
And Professor, I'm sorry, I have a question again.
Yeah, Pak.
It is possible if our undergraduate student to conduct research in your Makpal.
Yeah.
Maybe for 2 or 3 months, or you have a minimum stay in UKM.
Okay, we have because now also we have even undergraduate from local universities, and we call it as intern. They do some kind of industrial training, so they will come. They will come to our institute or our department, chemical engineering department, to perform some need. Then it similar goes to UII, and so you can come as intern. And we have some mutual understanding from both universities, and yes, we can arrange for that.
Okay.
For that kind of research.
And actually, in our lab, in my laboratory, in a biorefinery, so we also welcoming for the undergraduate student from UKM. If you want to send your undergraduate student, and maybe it's the topic is the same. If I'm conducting in my laboratory related to biorefinery.
Yeah.
Okay, please welcome.
Okay.
If the condition is getting better.
Okay. I'll pass the information to Dr. Masli as well. I think Dr. Amru is here. Then he can pass the information to Dr. Masli as well to take up.
Yeah.
So the department from both sides can discuss to have a framework of collaborations and then how to get it done.
Okay.
Yeah. There'll be a lot of opportunity for future collaborations.
Sure, sure.
So do we have any other questions from the participants? One last call. Is there any questions? So if no, then maybe I'll just ask our speakers to have a quick summary or remarks for the topics that already delivered today. Maybe a quick advice to the students and other young researchers. Maybe we can start with Prosity. Just a quick summary.
Okay. In short, thank you, Dr. Ang. In short, I think to forward with a good research, make sure you find a proper pathway, a good research breakthrough, and also a good mentor. So that is the three things that you need to have in order for you to kick off to certain level, right? So only that from me, Dr. Ang.
Okay, thank you, Prosity, and Dr. Sholeh.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ang. Okay, my conclusion maybe will be for undergraduate students because they are going to conduct research for their study. So please do not give up with the to find the topic and then just ask supervisor, and also a lot of read the literature to get interesting topic. So and also please follow the research step. Okay, thank you, Dr. Ang.
Thank you. So we have come to the end of the Q&A session for today's webinar, and I'm glad that we have two speakers who share their thoughts on how to become a good researchers, and hopefully all the audience and participants will get some useful information and advice from the sharing here. So right now I'm going to pass back to the MC of this webinar, Dr. Amru.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ang, for moderating the session. It looks like we have reached. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, dearest participants, it looks like we have reached the end of our event. I am glad to announce that we have several door prizes for everyone who have participated in the Q&A session. For the participants from UKM, you may contact Dr. Nora Shikin to claim your door prize. And for the other participants, please contact Bu Ajeng Yulianti Dwi Lestari to claim it. And for all the participants, please fill in the attendance from on the chat column in order to get the certificate. Well, before ending our webinar today, I would like to both congratulate and thank UII for the wonderful collaborative team teaching activity with UKM, which has started since 27 September 2021. The courses taught are fundamental of chemistry and calculus with 3 units each. Besides team teaching, UII and UKM collaboratively had successfully organized the first online global engagement program webinar on research and innovative collaboration delivered by Dr. Arif Hidayat and Prof. Insinyur Dr. Abdul Wahab Muhammad. We are looking forward to have more and more fruitful collaborations between UII and UKM in the years to come. On behalf of the organizing secretariat of this webinar, I would like to once again thank Prof. Insinyur Dr. Siti Khartoum Kamarudin and Dr. Sholeh Makmun for the insightful knowledge that they shared with us today. I would also like to thank all of you today for attending this session. We hope that you enjoyed the presentation. With that, I would like to end this webinar by reciting Alhamdulillah together. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wallahu alam. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih Prof. Siti Katun.
Terima kasih Profesor.